From ZTN Studios here in Harare, Zimbabwe, welcome to State of the Nation. In today's broadcast, we're continuing with our discussion on the National Peace and Reconciliation Commission's Visibility and Awareness Campaign. In today's discourse, we'll focus on two key areas and how the Commission delivers its mandate. Mainly, these are the finance and administration, as well as media and visibility. Joining us today to discuss this are two commissioners. In the first half, we're joined by Commissioner Dr. Chada. He is the brains responsible for the NPRC's media visibility campaign, spearheading the NPRC's media visibility. Commissioner Chada, welcome to State of the Nation.
Thank you very much, Ndaka. Thank you, ZTN. Thank you for being a good partner in the visibility of the National Peace and Reconciliation Commission.
Thank you very much for joining us. Without wasting a lot of time, we're going to go straight into it. You are the man responsible for the NPRC's campaigns as they are seen in the media and the brand's visibility. In your assessment so far in the NPRC's operations, how do you think the media has reacted to the NPRC's peace-building initiatives?
I believe the media has been a very supportive partner in this campaign to make sure that the work of the Commission is known nationally, internationally even. The media has been with us right from the beginning. When we went from province to province, conscientizing the people, the public about what the Commission is all about, what it is going to be doing, when it is going to be doing, the media was full-fledged in support of what we were doing. The result was that the nation became quite aware, quite early, particularly from 2018, quite early, that there was a commission which was concerned about bringing peace into this country. And it is a result of the support of the media. And we pray that you continue along the same lines, because we cannot do without you. You are actually our right-hand person, right-hand institution, right-hand agency in publicizing the work of the Commission.
The globe over, most countries, every country rather, is fighting the COVID-19 pandemic. And I'm sure as a Commission, you've put in place ways and means of ensuring that this pandemic does not cripple the Commission's mandate. What have you done as the NPRC to ensure that your mandate is furthered through media visibility through these trying times of COVID-19?
Yes, one of the things that as an institution, any institution should do when a crisis like the pandemic, the COVID pandemic comes, you have to find a way of adjusting yourself to the situation. You can call it scenario planning. If we do this, what will happen? If we don't do this, what will happen? That's exactly what we went into. We looked at the areas of the work of the Commission where we could do it online, where we could do it without breaking the rules of the government, the rules of who safe distances, congregating in offices, and so forth and so on. So we did, and we are still doing those things we can do through the media, for instance. For instance, we are still receiving a lot of complaints from various parts of the country. When we receive those, we communicate back to the various organs through the media. For instance, there was a case in Bulawayo where 2 women were assaulted by the security agents. We intervened through the media, and the case was brought before the courts. And to my understanding right now, the solution is being found. So we have not been sitting at home or locked down at home because we were afraid of the COVID. No. We have also gone further. We have jingles. I hope you have listened to our jingles. Jingles on television, jingles on the radio, and people are still hearing about the issues of peace. Well, what else could I say? We are here with ZTN. It is part and parcel of making sure that the work of the commission does not die. You continue to publicize out there the work that we are doing. It is very important that we continue along those lines. Very soon, we will have series of newspaper articles. In the newspaper, I understand Zimbabwe newspapers is still publishing. We are still reading newspapers. So people who are interested in promoting peace in the work of the commission can still hear, can still see that the commission is still alive and kicking and working as hard as they can possibly do.
And of course, naturally, you will have other programs that you expect to pursue post-lockdown. What are some of these programs?
Oh, a lot of programs. We had to suspend a lot of programs. Let me quickly say, for instance, in March, April, we had already designed a program or two programs. One for the editors of newspapers, conscientizing them about the discipline of peace and the discipline of conflict. We wanted them to understand, because it's a discipline. It's not something that you just can understand. It's a discipline. We wanted the editors to understand, to be true partners, so that they can understand what really causes conflict. What is the cost of conflict? Have you ever assessed the cost of conflict? No. We want to be able to say to the editors, please understand that conflict has a cost, financial cost, an economic cost. And you are responsible for making sure that the public understands that when they cause conflict, they are actually undermining their own efforts. They are actually undermining their own economic opportunities. So please, let's promote peace. Now, it's some of these things that we want the editors, when he sits or when she sits right in front of a PC or a computer, understand what are we talking about. And we also have a program. It's coming. If COVID-19 had not intervened, we planned, and it's going to come, for a course on peace journalism, okay, for the reporters, for the journalists. What is peace? Do you understand this concept of peace, you journalist? How can you promote it? How can we work together? This peace is like air. We all consume it. We are all interested in it. From the baby who is 1 hour old to a 150-year-old person, they are all interested in peace. Peace is necessary in a country. Without peace, there is no development.
Of course, you speak of a training, you speak of several trainings for the editors, several trainings for the journalists. But other organizations have come up with awards, sort of competitions for journalists to battle it out so that we see who understands certain concepts in certain areas. So does the NPRC have plans to have awards or anything similar in the future?
Well, you see, we don't want to criticize you, we don't want to examine you before we teach you.
Exactly.
We have already a plan financed by UNESCO. These programs are going to be financed by UNESCO. we are going to have a Journalism Peace Award. The best reporter on peace, the best reporter on conflict, managing conflict, is going to get an award. We haven't calculated how much money we'll give you. We haven't calculated what kind of plaque. Is it going to be a mobile plaque, or is it going to be a permanent plaque? We haven't. But that is coming. Also, for your information, for instance, I happen to be a member of the Safe Havens International. Safe Havens intend to protect the media, to protect the journalists, to make sure that they do their work properly. They do their work without harassment. Because if you do not report on how we are promoting peace, nobody will know that we are promoting peace. So we are interested in your freedom to make sure that you report without harassment, without intimidation, without fear. So you can see we have got quite a bit of things that, thanks to COVID-19, we could not reveal, we could not come and consume with you. But there are many things that are on the way, coming to make sure. For instance, we were planning a program, what we called Youth for Peace. The youth throughout all the provinces, we are going to bring them together and say, you are the future. Not only are you the future, you are also the one sector which is used to cause conflict. Tell us, how can we promote peace in our country? You are the perpetrators. At the same time, you can be the promoters. Tell us, how can we promote peace in our country? That program is coming. We want to hear from the youth. Now, COVID has actually created even more conflict. The youth are going to say, we are not employed. Then the question is, tell us, how can we promote peace? Even in this state of unemployment, how can we promote peace? So they are going to be able to help us to do that. We are going even further. We have already held discussions with the Ministry of Education. We have already written a concept paper on how we can bring peace education in primary schools, in secondary schools. It's funny that we started educating people at the university level in peace studies, but primary and secondary, they know nothing about peace. So we said, this is a contradiction. Could we have the curriculum of the primary, even going back to preschool, primary, and secondary, so that we can inculcate peace concepts in their learning, whether it is literature, in history, geography, in whatever, social studies. Let's introduce the idea of peace. So we have a lot. I wish COVID could have delayed for a year.
Well, eventually the world is going to open its doors. Zimbabwe is going to open its doors post-COVID. But apart from your work in media visibility, you're also responsible for Mashonaland East. Yes. As a commissioner. The area has been a hotspot, especially where violence is concerned regarding acquisition of land, which obviously came under the land reform program. How are you helping the affected understand and appreciate the mandate of the NPRC in that particular province?
Let me give you an analogy. The National Peace and Reconciliation Commission, let me state, has probably the broadest mandate of all the commissions that exist. There is nothing that we cannot touch. Our 10 functions touch every aspect, every area of life. But at the same time, like a general hospital We are like a general hospital where all patients come. But then general hospitals have got referral systems. Oh, this disease, we cannot deal with it. Refer it to such. This disease, we cannot deal with it. Refer it to such. That's the same thing that we are doing. Let's say issues of land. Issues of land are the easiest to cause even bloody conflicts. So when we see that, we receive complaints. We classify the complaints. Is this a land issue? Yes. Is it likely to cause immediate conflict? Yes. What preventive measures can we take now? If there are preventive measures, we take them. Whilst at the same time, write a concept paper, send it to the Land Commission. This is a complaint that has come through us. This is the nature of the complaint. This is where we think if it's not solved, it's going to cause bloody conflict. Could you please take action on it? We cannot wait for it.
So far, have you written such concept papers regarding Marsh East?
So far, there are, for instance, there are 2 cases that we received. One case in Chiwota, Marondera area. One was against one chief. One chief sent a complaint to the commission that Chief so-and-so he is overlapping the boundaries. He is coming, building houses and giving land in my jurisdiction, and that is going to cause fights. Now, you know we have no authority to draw boundaries. We looked at it, we consulted the provincial, the administrators in the respective chiefdoms, and we indicated to them that this is the nature of this conflict. If this conflict, boundary conflict, is not settled quickly, it could cause bloody conflicts. And that's where we are concerned. And that's where we are interested. So please make sure this issue is handled, and handled quickly. At the same time, we referred it to the Land Commission. So right now, we have already done our part. We do not know. We are waiting for results. We do not know how far it has gone in terms of resolution. But let me say, wherever a conflict arises, that is our first entry point. We do not hesitate. We have no fear. No fear at all. And one administrator wanted to drag his feet, because we then understood he was related to one of the chiefs. And we raised a lot of flak. We went to the provincial administrator and we said, this cannot happen. You better get your administrators to work on this and let's have a solution. And we will not rest until we hear there was a solution. Those are the things that we are working with.
Okay, so as we wrap up the first half, you mentioned earlier on that you're trying as a commission to educate the media, to teach them so that they understand the concept of peace building, as well as sustainable peace eventually. So what is your advice to the media with regard to the concept of peace, just before we go to break?
Okay. To the media, my advice is this. Please take time to understand the discipline of peace. Take time to understand the discipline of conflict. Do you know, for instance, peace is a holistic state of well-being. Without peace, there is no development. Peace is a human right. It's not something that you say, I'm generous, I'm going to give you. It's my right to live in peace. Peace is not the absence of conflict, because conflict is natural. Peace is the absence of personal and structural violence. Do we have organs that are perpetrating violence? For instance, we can even talk of what happened in the United States. The police are now identified as organs that are perpetrating violence. We do the same thing here. If certain organs have structural elements that are actually causing conflict, those are the areas that we intervene. I can tell you, peace, it's like air. Everybody needs it. The only people who hate peace are mercenaries, because conflict is their industry. That's the only people that I know who do not like peace. Every one of us wants peace. And I'm saying, journalists, why can't you join the commission? Why can't you be the right-hand partner to promote peace? Because we need development. We need stability. We need unity in this country. We need cohesion in this country. Let me say, everything rises and falls on the state of peace in any country. If there is no peace, there is no peace in school system, there is no peace in business, there is no peace in mining, there is no peace anywhere. Nothing can operate without the condition of peace. So journalists, media people, join us, because you have got an interest in it too.
Commissioner Chada, thank you so much. It has been a pleasure talking to you. Thank you for sharing those insights with us. If you have any comments, any questions, please do visit our Facebook page, Zimpapers TV Network, or to our Twitter handle @ZTN News. We will now go to break. Stay with us, because after this, we will have Commissioner Dr. Chekenyere, who's responsible for the Finance Admin as well as the Human Resources Thematic Committee with the NPRC. Do stay with us. We are now joined by Commissioner Dr. Chekenyere, who runs point at the NPRC in terms of finance, admin, as well as human resources. Commissioner Chekenyere, thank you so much and welcome to State of the Nation.
Thank you very much, Ndaka.
It is a pleasure to have you. And of course, before we waste any time, we're going to get straight into it. Of course, finance, admin, as well as human resources forms a core part of what the NPRC does as a commission. Could you please just shed more light into the NPRC's work and operations as far as finance, admin, and human resources is concerned?
Thank you very much. Good morning, viewers. I wish to start by saying I think Viewers must be aware that the NPRC is one of the 5 Chapter 12 commissions. And they are charged with promoting democracy, and so the NPRC is the latest or the newest baby in terms of the Chapter 12 commissions. The commission has got a very wide mandate, and that mandate covers a period from Mapungubwe up to now, and so that's a very, very wide mandate. To be able to develop programs and run programs, you need financing. And our department is the one which is the core of finding money for the commission. And that money, we can find it, but most of it is provided by government. In terms of the budget, in terms of us working with the Ministry of Finance to actually make sure that the commission is funded and the programs are running.
Of course, one of the main issues that have risen with regards to the NPRC is the issue of staff complement. According to your deputy chair, your Commissioner Lillian Chekenyere, the commission is operating with 33 staff members as opposed to an ideal complement of 100. Doesn't this defeat the commission in terms of executing its mandate? Because some argue that it is overwhelmed. What do you think about this?
Well, thank you very much, Ndaka. I believe that when you look at the organizational structure of the commission, we have an approved organizational structure, which I led the commission in crafting, of 102 employees. And in terms of Section 234 of the commission, we are required to have concurrence and agreement with Treasury because Treasury funds and pays the commission for this staff. 103 is the agreed position where we have concurrence from finance. However, the Ministry of Finance does not have enough funding to fund all these people all at once. So we've had approval on the organizational structure initially in 2018 to recruit 32 staff. We've got all that stuff in place now. We have motivated for more staff, and we believe that maybe this week or next week we might have approval to get more staff. Yes, inadequacy can actually lead to a failure or for an organization to fail to actually execute its programs. We are very much aware of that, but we are appreciative of what government has given us, and I think over time government will realize that we need more funding in order for our programs to run. We motivated for 2020 for 79 million with Treasury. We only received 32 million, about 32 million. So yes, you might say that that inadequacy can actually maybe make the commission fail to run its program. It's true. But honestly, we are hopeful that government will support us when we go. I have got many friends in Treasury where they know me and they support us, but obviously there are many demands to government coffers. And we hope that the Commission will be able to get an ear in Treasury to get more funding so that the programs of the Commission can succeed.
I'll just draw you back a bit to your response. You mentioned that you had approval to recruit more in the near future. How many are we talking about? Is it too early to ask for the numbers?
No, I think we might have approval maybe to recruit another 25 staff members. We are expecting that approval to come any time now.
Is this inclusive of the 2 vacancies that were posted recently?
No, those vacancies are from the first lot, from the first 32. But you realize that out of 103, we only got 32. If we've got another 25, we'll be up to almost more than half of our staff complement.
All right. Then there's been criticism with the Commission. Since one of the Commission's main mandatory areas is elimination of discrimination, there's been talk that the Commission has been favoring northern recruitments versus southern recruitments. What is your comment to this criticism?
I think when you look, I think our viewers must understand that the Commission is mandated to have parity and equality in terms of its recruitment policies. And that's our policy. I'm the chairperson of the recruitment committee. And if you look at reality on the ground in the Commission, our chairperson comes from the southern region. Our executive secretary comes from the southern region. Our general manager, healing, rehabilitation and reconciliation comes from the southern region. Our legal advisor comes from the southern region. Our monitoring and evaluation manager comes from the southern region. It might not be enough, but we are trying very hard to make sure that all the vacancies in the commission are advertised. Everybody is free to apply. And if they meet the requirements, then we interview them. And also, if you go to the National Peace and Reconciliation Commission Act, under Section 9, we are required to have gender parity and gender equality in the commission in terms of recruitment. So we have tried. It's not exactly maybe at 100%, but we are trying. And because we have to report back to Parliament as well in terms of how we have done in terms of gender parity.
Perhaps just for the benefit of our viewers who've raised concerns regarding the matter at hand,
yes.
Do you mind taking us through your recruitment process?
Yes, thank you very much. From the very beginning, when the commission was started, and when the commissioners were sworn into office, we have to advertise all the positions in the commission. Obviously, the commissioners were appointed via parliamentary process, but in terms of our staffing, all the positions have to be advertised in the press, in the Sunday Mail or the Chronicle or other newspapers. And the applications are received. We go through the applications, draw up shortlists, and then we have a recruitment committee interview all the candidates, and the ones who come tops are the ones who are appointed. So the process is very open, transparent, and it says that we have to advertise all the positions throughout this country so that all the individuals, all the people in our country can apply. Remember also that on the organizational structure of the MPRC, one of the things we have done is to try to support government in terms of the restructuring of the civil servants. So we have looked at working with the public service to say who is qualified, who can apply or who has applied, so that we take those individuals with experience in working in public because we are a public institution. We take those individuals who might be accessed in the public service to come and work for the commission. It saves us a lot of time because they are already there, they know government rules, they know government operations, and we've taken a lot of the staff from the public service or the public service commission. Yeah, so we try to balance the recruitment process.
You already mentioned that there's certain people at Treasury who now know you by your name and by your face. Yeah. So I take it you're the Commission's Oliver Twist. You're always going there with a begging bowl. You also mentioned that Treasury advanced 32 million versus an initial desired 79 million.
Correct.
So are you sourcing for external funding apart from what the Treasury provides for you?
The Constitution and our Act allows us to source and to do resource mobilization outside. And I must say that up to now, the outside funding that we have received has been through the United Nations Peace Fund, which again comes through government agreements with the United Nations. We have not received funding from any other organization, because you find a lot of people who say, the Commission receives funding from here. We haven't received any funding from anywhere else except through the Peace Fund in the United Nations, with the United Nations. However, we are allowed to receive and to look for funding outside of government. We have not done that yet. I think this is an issue where the Commission has to do more in terms of looking for funding outside, so that the programs that you are talking about, the inadequacy in terms of our funding, so that we can have more funding for our programs to run. We have a lot of programs which require a lot of money. Transportation. You'll be able to know that until about maybe 6-7 months ago, we did not have much transportation. We received funding from Treasury to buy pool cars, which we have done, but we need more. So that support, honestly, if we could be able to motivate for outsiders business, for outsiders in terms of other organizations. But you also have to be very careful, because when you receive funds from outside of government, some of that funding comes with an attached agenda or attached, what did you call it? Conditions on it. So we have to be very careful to say, when we look for funding, we are 100% sure that this funding does not come with conditions attached to it. And we know it has happened in other countries whereby funding has been given to an organization, and he who pays the piper calls the tune. Yeah.
Of course. Then let us just take a look at some of the programs and the projects that you're doing as the Finance, Admin and HR Thematic Committee. What are some of the programs and the projects that you've undertaken?
Well, basically, I think our role is to support the programming side, because the commission's organogram is split into two. There's the support services side, and there's the programming side. And I think you'll be aware that in terms of logistics for any program of the commission which is running, it is the finance, admin, and HR who must actually take the load of the logistics. It's not easy. If you look from 2016, the commissioners, before the MPRC Act came or was signed by His Excellency on the 5th of January 2018, conducted probably close to 15, 20 workshops. Hotel bookings, how do you hotel? Transportation, and so forth. So the logistics are not simple. And I'll come to like our current peace committees in the various provinces, where each committee might have about 30 or 35 individuals drawn from different organizations. We took part in the peace process before, during, and after the elections. Commissioners that time did not have transportation. We had to hire vehicles from CME. That process alone is not easy. Then the commissioners went out and they observed the elections of 2018. We were observers, accredited observers. Not an easy process, booking hotels and so forth. I remember myself, I was asked to observe Masvingo province because that's where I came from. I had no driver. I had to drive myself to go out. And so the logistics, Commissioner Chekenyere, where are you going to be? One day I had to sleep in my village because there was no hotel and so forth. I slept in Zaka, where I come from. And then we took part in the peace pledge process, which was done at the HICC. Then we did provincial peace pledges all over. Soon after that, we ran a peace caravan process, where we hired vehicles again, and public address systems and so forth and so on. Not easy to do. And at that time, commissioners did not have vehicles, but they used their own family vehicles to be able to go around the country and they have many peace pledges. The peace caravan, which you might have been aware of during that time, it was a very successful program, because we were taking up from where His Excellency had said we want peace in the elections, we want love, and the commissioners took it up and did the peace caravan and so forth. Then the provincial consultations that we did. Not simple. In all the 10 provinces, we went around this country. Again, logistics, hotel bookings, payments, and so that's what finance and admin and human resources are. Lastly, the peace committees. If you look at the work of organizing the peace committees, quite honestly, it's a nightmare. If you take Masvingo, for example, some of the peace committee members come from Chiredzi, some of them come from rural areas. There is no internet, there is nothing. How do you organize all these people? It's very, very difficult. So finance, admin, and human resources have to come together to provide the logistical networks that are required. Payments. Sometimes it doesn't happen easily, and sometimes we fail to pay because there is so much logistical requirement. Currently, the Commission is talking of having public hearings. That's part of our mandate. It's in our mandate. How are we going to be able to organize all these public hearings? You have seen public hearings done by the Montlane Commission and other commissions. It's very difficult when you have inadequate funding, when you have inadequate transportation, inadequate equipment. How do we buy equipment like this to be able to do public hearings? How do you organize yourselves? And when you invite people to come to them, how do you transport them? How do you transport yourself, the commissioners, your staff? Interpreters and all those people, it's not easy, but that's what we are responsible and accountable for, to organize and be able to support the programming side so that the programs of the Commission can be a success.
Evidently, there's a lot of logistical planning and part of your job. There's a lot of payments that need to be made, transportation, etc. But Treasury has been preaching the gospel of cost containment, yet the country is fighting inflationary pressures. How is the NPRC managing?
I think a lot of people believe that the commission or the commissioners live large and so forth, but no, we don't. But quite honestly, we are the commission, but we are also citizens of the country. We must be able to understand what Treasury is going through because we are citizens. That's our first thing. But as a commission, we have a mandate to execute, and we must be able to execute it. We have a lot of issues. People are saying, what are you doing? We have not been able to do that. We have not been able to do that. Yes, because Treasury has got a lot of people looking up to them for funding, including the NPRC. We are not the only commission. But I think we are saying, given even the little that we have, or that we have been supported, we have been able to actually execute a lot of programs. And we will continue to do that with the little that we have. We have right now a fundraising campaign, which we are going to be launching. And soon, I think you will see us inviting business to come and support the NPRC. And I remember Commissioner, my colleague, Commissioner Chada said, you cannot have development without peace. You cannot operate your business without peace. So business must be able to come and say, where is the commission needing more funding and assistance? And we can tell them where we need. There are donors as well whom we'll be approaching very soon. We haven't done that yet, which means the commission has been very clean. We have not been given money by, pipers or who tell us what to do. We have not. All the funding that we have received has come from government.
All right, then, Commissioner, just in conclusion, before we wrap up, what are some of the last words that you wish to say to our viewers?
I wish to say, honestly, this commission has very much goodwill from the people of Zimbabwe. And we saw that when we were going around in our consultations. Conflict will always be here. Conflict will always be there in our country. I think when you take it from the people that were talking to us during our consultations, they would wish for this commission to be a permanent commission. This commission has got a twilight, a window where in about 10 years it should be done its work. I don't know whether conflict will be completed or will not be there in 10 years' time. So I wish that this commission could be there in perpetuity like the other commissions. The commissioners can be there for 10 years, fine, and new commissioners come. But I wish if this commission could be there in perpetuity because conflict never ends. Thank you very much.
Commissioner Chekenyere, it has been an absolute pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much for joining us here today. Now to our viewers, thank you so much for joining us today. If you have any comments or views on our show today, please contact us via our Facebook page, Zim Papers TV Network, or via our Twitter handle @ZTN News. Join us again next week. Have a good day.